How's it going, guys? So I want to pick off where we left off earlier. Um, we were looking at some photos here in Uganda. So here we have a photo of Lake Mutanda, and I'm going to do the same thing as we were doing earlier. I haven't really done anything to these things since we last left, but this video is going to focus mostly on keywording and how I use AI in my keywording process. So just going to do a couple more edits to some of these photos. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I was saying earlier, I'm not sure how property releases moderation is going to view this photo, but we're hoping it passes with flying colors, obviously. And like I said earlier, I'm just trying to get the whites to 255 and the blacks just about 0. If that turns into 1 and 254, I am a-okay with that. Don't want to be clipping. And like I said earlier, that's about as much as I'm going to leave the photos at for now. I'm worried about exposure. Colors, see here, if you look over in our reds, blues are kind of fighting each other, so I think we can warm that up globally. It's missing a little bit. Here we go. Let's just bring those blacks up. Shadows. Put a little bit of clarity on that. Okay, same thing. See, I'm not going too crazy because I do want to focus this video on how I use Pixify to keyword. And we'll be getting into that very shortly. I just got a few more of these to do. Like I said earlier, I was hanging out of the car for most of these, so I do expect the foregrounds to be a little bit out of focus or blurry. You know, not all these shots are gonna make it, but hey. Very, very crude adjustments right now. I'm not doing any, you don't see me doing any kind of masking. All the adjustments I'm doing right now are pretty much global. Yeah, I try not to do too much masking in Lightroom. Mostly just because I like to refine my masks, and you know, just the brush alone in Lightroom does not do the trick always. Same thing. Look at our histogram. So I do want to keep an eye on our histogram to know how far I can push it. Obviously our whites have a lot to go. And there we go. We start to see clipping. So we bring that back down. Same thing with our blacks. You can see down there in the hedges. Getting a little crushed. And I'm gonna go daylight. Now you might be wondering, you know, why am I speed running these edits? Why am I leaving so much behind? All my adjustments are global. Just kind of slapping edits on. Because this is a preliminary thing, and I just want to make sure that everything I have is sharp, exposed, and will work for me. 2 of these guys, not just the one. Okay. Same thing, blacks. We'll push the shadows. A little bit of clarity. Vibrance. And see how I'm pulling the highlights and it's not really affecting our clipping? Basically what it's doing is it's not lifting the 255 values. That would be our whites. It's lifting everything in between. So you can see actually if you look at your histogram, it lifts everything up to this range, and then you get into about pure white town, which obviously is done by your whites, and it'll be the same for your shadows. So your shadows are here, and then you get into your blacks. It's a good way to visualize actually how where your color values are on the spectrum. Here again, dark, no midtones, lots of shadows. So I'll bring our blacks up, not that much, but there. Our whites, but to there. And then if you still find that like these mids are a little much, you can bring the shadows up. Whoa, vibrance, a little bit of clarity, and a little bit of dehaze just to bring in some punch in that sky. And that's it. Same thing. This time I'm going to start with dehaze so I can get to the sky to a good level. I do check my whites in the clouds. We're pushing 95, 95.8. We're about 96 there. And then in our blacks, we're 0. So you can tell there's no information in those blacks. We'll bring that up. We'll also bring the shadows up. Give it a good look. And then again, with our highlights, we're not pushing our whites. We're pushing our highlights. So we do want to keep a little bit of information in that sky, but it wasn't feeling quite cohesive together. There we go. Starts to feel a little flat if you pull the blacks a little too much, but we want to keep that information. There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna sync these all up because I think they're all in the same environment roughly. Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll give this one a little bit of a turn. A little clarity. Vibrance up. All right, now we're in the tea plantation. I am going pretty quickly as well, just so I can make sure that we get to the automated keywording, because I know that's why you're here. So I'm just going to quickly do some quick edits on these. Literally think as much as I can. We're almost at the end of the timeline here. And then you'll really get a good idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, this is one where actually I copied the adjustments, but the settings changed. So this one is actually a whole stop darker. It was shot a whole stop darker than this one. So what that tells me is I've pulled the exposure on this one a full stop already. So it tells me I'm probably gonna have to pull this one close, at least close to another stop if I want to get there. And see, we're clipping the sky, so we'll pull our whites back, our blacks are a little wash out there, and we'll just bring some tone, equalize the colors there. And that's again all I'm really worried about right now. That's a cool shot. Our sky held detail really well here. Yeah, that's a cool shot. Our blacks up. 640 ISO. We're still pretty darn noisy in the sky. R5, man. You'd think like, I don't know, when I was like looking at videos recommending it and like, should I buy this sort of thing, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like you won't, like you can push 1000 ISO and you won't see any noise. And call your bluff on that, man. Like, absolutely, there's no way. All right, and last shot before we, so this one is going to need definitely some work before I can go to stock, because can't have her, we can't have him. And if there's any, like, it may register this as copyright infringement, but you know, based on the context of the overall image, I would be comfortable pushing it. But if it gets rejected, then hey, it gets rejected. Okay, so now we're here. And about this point, after I've done all my edits, I will generally make sure that I don't have too many duplicates, seeing as though the way Pixify works is that you are paying per photo. So I want to make sure that I'm not wasting it on something that will get discarded anyway. So I got this guy. Earlier we talked about how he's kind of out of focus, not great. So if I've got one with him perfectly in focus, or rather the best focus, I'll probably go with that one. Feeling pretty good about that. And we'll see about all the other stuff. As for now, those can all go you. What do you think? 1 or 2? 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm tempted to go with 1. I do like seeing, you know, the shape of this ear, but I think seeing both eyes and both tusks, getting a read on both tusks really well against a darker, because this one doesn't really stand out too well against the lighter background. So I'll probably opt for that one. Go you. And tea plantation, this or this, this or this, this or this, this or this. I'm gonna go with this. Okay. All right. So yeah, we'll just see about this. It's roughly the same shot. This one's a little bit moved over. Does the tree give more context? I think the tree is working because this one feels a little bit pushed too over. And I don't want to deal with the pink lake. Pink Lake is in Quebec, not Uganda. All right. So now we've gotten to a point where I'd say each of these files are unique enough in their own way. Next thing I'm going to do, Command A. So I kind of want to show you the Pixify website before I really get into this. So just open it up and I'll show you, kind of break it down. So we are using keywording. Now they are like, you know, pushing that, but we're looking for the Lightroom Classic plugin. So if you don't have, like, if you don't use Lightroom, if you're strictly Capture One or you're something else, this or that, you can download their actual studio application. But I use the Lightroom plugin, just for automation's sake, and it means that I can change the metadata of the actual raw file. I'm not having to export a like a JPEG or a TIFF and then apply the keywording and metadata to that, because then that leaves the raw file completely unedited. And I find personally, whenever I'm been looking to go back on a photo and I don't know the folder, I don't know the file name, I don't know, you know, the first thing about where to find that photo, if I can start typing in keywords, location, rough dates, basically describe what's on the photo, then, and it pops up, then I am great. And it's most likely that in 5 years or whenever it is that I'm looking for these photos, the editing style that I have right now just isn't going to be trendy with what I'm into then. So I'll probably want to re-edit, as I'm doing recently with a lot of photos from 5 years ago today, which is only 2020, which is kind of weird. Anyway, so enough about that. Once you download the plugin, you do notice that there are, like, if we go to pricing, I currently have the 1500 plan. I'll probably like bring that down, but I don't know, because the drop from 1500 to 100, I pretty much need 750. So I don't see that happening. That's $30 for 1,000 credits. If I do this, I'm basically, no matter what, buying 1,000 credits. Right now, the $1,500 plan makes sense for me, but that's only because I have a whole library and archive of images. If I were just in the if I were in the situation now where I was just decided to start this stock photography today, and I was planning shoots and I was going out and executing shoots, and everything I did was intentionally for the idea of selling stock, then I'll probably switch to the $100 plan. Even with that, you can still build up enough images so that, on month 1 you shoot 150. Okay, keyword 100. Maybe, we're busier with other stuff next month. We still have 50 images that need to be keyworded. So, there's like ways to play it. And now with the stock websites, like nowadays, like being all algorithm dominant for the most part, means that they expect you to be uploading, just like social media, just like just like YouTube, just like Instagram, just like whatever. Your relevancy is based on the frequency of your uploads. So even with stock, if you're not uploading to stock reoccurringly, you're like, the stuff that you uploaded 6 months ago is going to get pushed way to the last page, not going to show up on any results. They just, like, if you're not staying relevant, they assume that your content's not relevant, which, unfortunately is not the case, but it's the way they see it. So I stick with the $1,500 plan. $39 a month. Right now it's a lot, but if you're mindful and you don't let that expense just keep building up, then you've spent $40 on keywords for photos and metadata, not just keywords, titles, descriptions, and keywords. And they'll be on stock sites that will have recurring payments for years potentially. So it's a small investment now, and once you just get the work out of the way, I started off doing this automatically. I would literally go on to, like, let me show you. I'll actually show you. I go into ChatGPT, and I would literally say, write a title, description, and keywords separated by a comma for a photo of a man with a tiny car. I don't know. But this is the sort of thing that I would be doing. Hitting enter. Man with tiny car on sunny day. A cheerful man, this shit. And then none of the keywords would actually be usable on the platform. So they would see these. They would either, like, put like a red banner or like a red highlight around them, or just straight up say, like, these are non-accepted keywords, please choose again. And so literally I'm basically just starting the whole keyword process from start. And I thought it was efficient for like when I started it, but then I realized no, it really it wasn't at all. To give you an idea, it took me a year, not completely dedicated, but dedicated enough, coming home from work every day. Arrive at 5, make dinner, and then metadata, keyword, title, description for 3-4 hours until I go to bed. Now I had 2 days off and I hit the upload maximum for the 3 sites that I primarily upload to. So Adobe Stock, I have, there's 498 photos in review. And when I tried to add more, they were like, hold on, you've hit the limit. And same thing with Shutterstock. I think I managed to get over 530 before they were like, hold the phone, not allowed. Getty, fortunately, or iStock, they haven't clamped down on me like that. It's just, they have their own annoying things like 100, you can only upload 100 photos per batch. And so I have like all these batches that are like January 23rd, upload 1, January 23rd, upload 2. And the other day it got up to upload 4 because in one day I was uploading about almost 400 photos. Anyway, so back to Lightroom. Once you get the app installed, Pixify, and you have credits, you're gonna have to link it with this. It's really easy. Once you have it installed, basically you just open Lightroom, go to library, and then the first time you go to plugin extras, it will most likely ask you to log in, or if it doesn't, then you just need to find some other way to activate it, or it's already been activated on your Lightroom. So now we're looking at the general user interface for Pixify. Some might say the UI is a little outdated, but once you've been familiar with it, it's only like a few years outdated. It's super clear. Right now I have the show file instructions turned off, but you can turn this on for individual files. I don't typically use it for individual files unless there's something really specific that I want to call out in a certain image. But for the most part, I will use the general instructions tab up there and just put like where the photos were taken. In Uganda during the summer of 2022. Various locations. So like this could be like, I mean, that's pretty on par for most of the instructions that I would give the platform, the program to use. Super general. Another thing I have put in the past, I don't think it will apply to this so much, but we'll put it because there's this one guy. So another like instruction, I mean, this could be a local instruction that you could just put on the one file, but I'll just put it in general. All people yeah, so like this would be a pretty typical instruction that I would give it. All photos taken in Uganda during the summer 2022 at various locations. All people depicted will be removed in Photoshop. Do not mention anything about people occurring in the photos. Like basic. So we'll go hit generate all. Sometimes I find that I hit generate all and I could go to bed and wake up, check the computer, and they'll all be generated except 2. Hit apply all values. this button right here, and sure enough, they're there. So if you do find that it's been taking a while for it to apply the new data, then just be confident that it's already there and hit apply all values. If it doesn't show up, then hey, spend another couple credits and regenerate it. I might have to show you this today. We'll see. If it doesn't happen, then I'll apply all values. We'll go back. And then the second time around, if it doesn't work on all the photos, generally what I'll do is I'll go in and individually generate them. We're getting lucky. They're coming up. I'll just give it a couple more seconds before. Okay, so now we're getting into the point where I start to question it. There's a big chunk here. Sometimes you don't know where it's like starting. If it starts at the bottom and you're looking at the top, and you're waiting for this to generate, but you don't think anything's happening. And meanwhile, all down here it's working still. There we go. We just got another. I'll give it another second. Hopefully build up some of these titles. Okay, now we're getting to the point where I would probably say I'm just gonna hit apply and yeah. This is we're getting to the point where I hit apply. It's applying the values that it's written. We'll see if there are any other that didn't show up that may have gotten written in, but I doubt it. Fortunately, our file instructions will still remain, but also just be aware that if you are going from, say, a batch of Uganda photos that were shot in 2022 to a bunch of wedding photos that you shot last week, you're going to want to be aware, because if you don't erase that text, those instructions, it will try to apply these instructions to your wedding. So you don't want your wedding to be taken in Uganda during December 22, and you'll definitely have people. So something just to keep in mind. But on that note, if you do individually generate the photos, the instructions do not need to be individually there. They can still be global instructions like we have here. But when I do go into individually do the metadata, I generally only try and do 3 at a time, and then I scroll back up, check on the first one, see how it's doing, and there we go. First one's done. That tends to get a little bit of momentum. Hopefully these will come up quick. There we go. There's one. All right. While we wait for the last one, I'll just go ahead and generate 3 more. Again, here are a couple instances. This one, I do plan on removing the person, but this one, I already decided that I'm probably going to keep him in because there's no recognizable feature, and it does kind of add to the context of the photo. As I was saying earlier, he's looking at the ground. We as the viewer are looking at the ground as well, so it kind of gives context to what he's looking at. So I'll just whatever. We'll see. I might go back and there's sometimes I decide to manually edit these as well. videos, for instance. This software, from what I know, doesn't work on video content. So whenever I am working on video content, I either try and do all the keywording and the metadata just manually. If not, I go back to my old chat GPT tips if I'm feeling a little bit tired and don't have it in me. All right, I've just gone and generated 4 more. Feeling frisky. Gonna take the risk. Let's see. Um, yeah, I thought about adding background music to these streams. We'll see about that. You guys will have to let me know if that's something you're into. I do find when I was like going when I go back and I watch these things, I'm like, oh darn, the parts where I'm not talking, they're like really quiet sometimes. I think that's because I have the mic. It just it picks up when there's speaking actually happening or action. I have some settings on to promote that, so it's not just constant static. But I do think that in the breaks where I'm not talking, it might be beneficial to have a little, I don't know, a little elevator, a little music, something. I could whistle a little tune. Feeling pretty good about these. We just got 2 more to go. Okay. And just like that, they're all done. So yeah, I did have a feeling it would take like two rounds of this to get them all done. In my experience, that generate all tab, it just doesn't work. I've tried between all fields and empty fields. Sometimes my thinking is when I have it on empty fields, even though none of the photos have been generated, that it's still there's some extra coding in there that's looking for the empty field, so it adds an extra step. I don't know. This is all just psychological, just like when you're starting up the computer or when you're trying to download something and it gets stuck at 99 and you look away and then it hits 100. Same idea. I'm sure if I left it all night on the generate all, eventually, or like in an hour or whatever, it would eventually work. But I don't know. I don't like to try it. So I'm going to apply all these values while I have them all selected. We'll make sure everything worked. There's all our keywords. And one thing that you'll notice, I don't think it's on here, but in Pixify, I actually do have some settings. So I have it set to 40 keywords max. Why 40 keywords max? Well, the reason for that is because once you upload it to the stock site, so once I put it on iStock will generate 10 of its own keywords that it recognizes as appropriate, suitable for their application. So I leave those 10. Now you will notice that when we do it, I have this Getty iStock costed 1 plus additional credit per generate. And that's also why I need the 1500 credits, is because I had this turned off just on standard for the longest time. But then what happens is when you get into Getty on a desktop platform, they actually won't allow keywords unless they're recognized by their program. So if you don't have terms that they already recognize, you're spending one less credit, but you're wasting so much time because I promise you half these keywords will not be accepted by Getty. The only workaround I've found for that is to upload them from the computer and then go on your phone. And for some reason, when you do it on mobile, uh, like it doesn't recognize it the same way. And what do I mean by that is I don't have anything that needs review. But basically, on your desktop, it'll show, like you'll upload it, and then some of the keywords, like it'll pick out a few keywords that aren't suitable. But if you use the standard keywording, it will literally be like, I don't know, maybe 40% will be accepted. 60% of the keywords that you've already added, that you spent a credit on, that you paid money for, are ineligible for the website. Now, it does specify Getty iStock, and that's for a reason. Those keywords are not always suitable for Shutterstock, but I tend to prioritize Getty iStock. Even though I get about the same amount of downloads, if not less than Shutterstock, they pay better. And I also find the terms that it applies for the Getty model that are more appropriate for Adobe Stock as well. So Adobe Stock, that makes up about maybe like 5-10-ish%, if that, of my total sales. But the thing with Adobe Stock is that once you get one sale on Adobe Stock equates to about 10 sales on Shutterstock. So in list of priority, I used to be Shutterstock, Adobe, Getty, because I used to find the Getty UI to be pretty annoying until I realized that I need to be spending that extra credit for Getty keywords. And then once I started doing that and most of the keywords were accepted by Getty, that became my main contributing source. And then I also found that I wasn't getting just 10 cents per upload. I was, like, as it still varies, obviously, but, you're getting at least, like, I don't know, 40 to 50 cents per download. Shutterstock, my portfolio personally is a little skewed because I've had an image sell for over $33. And so if you look back on October 2024 compared to the rest of my year, I did great. But I only sold 8 photos. That's because one of them was like $33. So those are far and few in between, but it's those moments right there that keep you really invested in the practice and really want you to upload more. Anyway, so yeah, now I've got these all done up. I do think they need a little bit more work, like I said, but I will save that for later. What I'll do for you right now is I'll just work on one photo and I'll get it to the point where I'm ready to upload onto Getty's, just so you can see how that process kind of works. I don't need it. I'm gonna pull these up, see where blocks are at. In there. Like this amount of this amount of white, like whatever. Fine, sure. I probably wouldn't upload something like that much, but considering they're in this clouds anyway, we'll give it a little bit more. what you realize too when you're looking at the histogram is that midtones are exposure. So if I want to bring up these mids, I should be bringing up the exposure there. That goes kind of back to an earlier point where I was talking about the whites and such. So like I can bring back those whites to almost to the point where they're not clipping, and I've brought this up through exposure. So exposure isn't always like every value is going to be added. You know, if you add a stop to the exposure, it's not going to add a stop to your whites. It's not going to add a stop to your blacks. It is mostly focused to the midtones in this case. All right. No, I'm getting this is kind of to a point where I'm kind of happy with it. But this might be an instance where, you know, I right before I exported, I realized, you know, shoot, this could be a more localized photo. So what I really should have done is when I'm in Pixify Generate, I can keep these general instructions, but what I should have and will do to all these photos is add individual file instructions for where they were taken. And the only reason for that is because, you know, scenic riverside cliffs and lush vegetation under a cloudy sky. That's a good title, but I bet you there's a few thousand, at least a couple thousand photos on stock that have that similar title or of a generalized area. But if there are 10 people writing a story on the Nile River in Uganda, don't you think that they'll be searching those specific keywords and looking for something taken on the actual river, not just some generalized photo from Brazil or, you know, whatever. So this is a good instance where you can take advantage of that. Take advantage of those areas that you visit that not too many people are in there, especially with, you know, with 45 megabyte mirrorless camera like a Canon R5. So I'll say this was taken on the Nile River near Murchison Falls in Uganda. Don't need to add too much more. If I were to add anything else, and then I might as well be doing this stuff myself. So we're gonna go generate all fields and generate. So yeah, now we have both these kind of global instructions for any of the photos that we had in there, but we have individual file instructions as well for just this photo. I could have added the file instructions to the general instructions, but I want to keep these unchanged in case I need to go back on anything else and do something similar. So now it's changed to dramatic riverbank cliffs along the Nile near Murchison Falls, Uganda. A scenic view of the steep cliffs and lush greenery along the Nile River near Murchison Falls, showcasing natural grandeur and tranquility. Perfect. So go to that photo, menu export, new folder. See, this folder's been getting a little messy. And I will say, oh, it's not even the 22nd, it's the 23rd day. Keep on track of which sites that you've uploaded stuff to. And I say that because, you know, you don't realize how many folders I have that are labeled, you know. January 23rd, upload to stock. And then I upload 50 of those photos to Getty. You know, Adobe only will accept 30. Shutterstock only wants like 16. So what I recommend is get used to color tags and stuff like that so that you know what each one is for. That's what I'm talking about. Look at this. January 21st, upload 4. January 21st, upload 3, 2, 1. Okay, so here we go. I'll stay consistent. January 23rd, upload. And here we go. January 23rd. Da, da, da. Just give it a second to upload. All right, so here's another thing I just forgot to do. I forgot to show you guys. So, country of shoot. Should have done this here because it will be recognized. Go all, country region, Uganda. And if you had the area that was like, location shown or something like that, that's not city or state, you could put in Murchison Falls for a little extra, but all these photos are in Uganda, so I just did Command A and put the location. So here we'll just have to do that manually. Uganda. Remember people. Okay, so remember this was with the Getty iStock setting turned on Pixify. So it added our 40 keywords. 3 of them are not accepted. That's fine. It does base its keyword suggestions based on your title and description. So make sure you have both of those are clear. And go ahead. I note that there's 9 in this first one. So 10, 11, 12. Take us right to 49. All right. Now we can go save metadata and submit. And there we go. So that's pretty much how I use Pixify. It was a very long, drawn out explanation of that. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll probably make a more specialized video on this that'll be cut down to about 5 minutes. But for now, yeah, that's how I do my keywording and my titles and descriptions, all integrated right into Lightroom with Pixify. If you have any questions, I will be keeping this video up as a pre-recorded video, so feel free to drop anything in the comments. I try to get back to those as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching. My Instagram is down in the bottom left corner if you feel like following me. Subscribe in the meantime, and I'm really enjoying these live streams, so I'm hoping to keep these up in the new year and start talking to you guys really soon. Thank you.